Well, today on the Newsmaker program, everything you wanted to know about Ghana, plus a little bit. We have a guest who is from Ghana, and by the time this program airs, he'll be back in Ghana. But an awful lot of things are happening in Africa, so we'll be talking to Father George from Ghana on today's Newsmaker.
It's time for the Newsmaker Show on News Talk AM 1480 WLEA. Here's Kevin Torres.
Okay, this is not a religious show, so all of you people who don't like religion, don't click it off. This is about geography and history. You know, Father George?
Yeah, my last name, my full name is George Jassy.
Okay, now
in Ghana will say Jesse.
There are many languages in Ghana, correct?
Yes.
You're from the south of Ghana.
Yes.
Didn't they just say we're going to call this Ghana?
No, there was Ghana. Ghana
there
was actually
Ghana.
The Gold Coast. Because you know that on the west coast of Africa, the Brits and the French were very prominent in these areas. And so the Brits, when they discovered Ghana, it was there before, not that they discovered, but when they got to Ghana, it was, and because the Ghana had a lot of gold, and even until now we still have it. Mm-hmm. There were many places where you could mine and get gold, and so the Ghana was called the Gold Coast, actually by the Brits. And then whilst the Ivory Coast, like Côte d'Ivoire, was called the coast of the ivory, because they discovered the French also had a lot of ivory from the Ivory Coast. But we changed the name on the 1950 on the 6th of March, 1957, when Ghana became independent. We changed the name from the Gold Coast to Ghana. But Ghana wasn't actually an existing, wasn't before a name of a country. But we know that in ancient African history, there were many empires, like the Songhai Empire, like the Mali Empire, like the Ghana Empire, whose capital was in Timbuktu. And so,
Timbuktu?
Yeah, Timbuktu at that time. So, and Timbuktu is said to be the first place where they had the first university in Africa. So they picked that name from the ancient Ghana Empire and gave the name to our country, Ghana.
Now, when Ghana became independent, you correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't as the result of a revolution as it was in Kenya or Kenya.
Yeah.
They just gave it to you. At some point, they realized they couldn't keep holding on. Is that true?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Ghana, in the case of Ghana, it was fought for. At the same time, it was also through dialogue, through normal.
Wasn't guerrilla warfare?
No, it wasn't. There was no civil war. There wasn't any violence attached. But there were struggles, as you have in many countries. There were struggles for independence, struggle to be to have your own autonomy, to take care of your own affairs and govern your own people. So we had great guys like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and the the Big Six, who had formed a Pan-Africanist group. So whilst they were studying, some were studying in England, others were in the US, and they came back and they began to fight for independence. So it was given to them by the Brits.
But when you say
actually,
fight,
Ghana was the first sub-Saharan country in Africa to gain independence from the British.
So when you say fight, you don't mean there was actually a war as there was in Ireland and Kenya and
no, fight in this
India,
contest wasn't like you take arms and go and fight. But
just argue
and dialogue and then ask for your due. Fighting for justice, as we will put it in that contest.
I have many friends from Ghana, and being of Irish descent and knowing the trouble they had getting their independence, I always just say, what do you think of the Brits? Just to see what the reaction is. And it's been varied. Now, you weren't probably born.
Yes.
But what recollections do the folks in Ghana have about the Brits? Good, bad, indifferent? What is it?
Yeah,
you can be honest.
Yes, honestly, I wasn't born, but what I heard from my forefathers and from my ancestors and from my people who had experienced the Brits, some gave a positive perception. Some gave them positive perception. Like they were nice, they were really interested in the building up the country. Others are also of the opinion that they came and they came to rob us of what we had, like gold, diamond, silver, timber, all the raw materials that we had, and that's what they needed for their own also progress and their own prosperity. And some also have other people also have an indifferent attitude that they are not sure whether. But from now, if you go back to history and looking from hindsight, for me it's a combination of both. They gave us education, they gave us quality of life, they gave us meaning to life. At the same time, they also took advantage of what we had, and they profited by it. So it's both a give and take. And I don't want to I don't want to take blame. I don't want to get myself involved in a blame game, as some people would do.
Gotcha.
But on the other hand, every interaction, every experience is positive because you learn from it and you will become wise. And say history is the teacher of life. So somehow Ghanaians have learned from what the British gave us and our interaction with them and the things that we have learned. And I think apart from everything, at least they gave us the English language, which is very necessary in a modern world. And Ghana has a lot of potential, had a lot of advantage because we speak English and we had a British education and we've been trained by the British, and our Ghanaians are doing well in that sense. So it has not been very bad. We cannot regret for that experience as such, but at least we had something beneficial.
Now, I should point out that Father George, my guest today, is back in Ghana now. He was here over the weekend raising money for his diocese back in Ghana. And you've been traveling around the country.
Yes.
But when you're back in Ghana, you are a professor at the university, the seminary.
In a major seminary in the south, yeah.
And you teach ethics.
Yes, and philosophy, yeah.
Was my favorite course in college because of the tremendous prof I had.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk just a little bit about the tribal structure. At one point, I was talking to someone from Ghana, and they said the first loyalty of anyone in Ghana is to the clan. The second loyalty is to the tribe, and then finally the nation state. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, in some cases, yeah, it's true. But in modern day Ghana, this trend is changing because things are changing, and the reason for it is that many years ago, when the British came to Ghana, the chiefs were in charge, so they had what you call the indirect rule. The indirect rule was that the British were in charge. There was a commissioner. Same time, there were the chiefs who were taking care of the people or the affairs of the people. So much more, that figure of the chief has become very symbolic. And until now, among a particular tribe of people, like the Ashantis, the chief, the Asantehene, is very prominent. And so the allegiance and loyalty is to the chief, first and foremost. Even though when it comes to political power, he has no power. He is only a ceremonial leader, a figure. But people have been embedded with that kind of mentality. So they still keep it. And it's good because it's able to put them to help them to bind themselves together as a people, to have a common destiny, a common front, and at the same time also work for share their culture and live together in unity. On the other hand, there are other tribes who have no chiefs, who do not, as it were, hold on to the chieftaincy system, and for that matter, they would like to. First of all, express their allegiance to the governor, to the government of the country, to the of the state, and to the ministers and those who are in charge of ensuring the well-being of Ghanaians.
How many tribes are there in Ghana?
There are so many of them. Tribes we have, I cannot give you a specific number, but I know that we have about 42 tribes because we speak about 42 languages in Ghana.
Well, that must be a little difficult, but English is a common language.
It's a lingua franca. Yeah.
All right, so that's like Italy for that matter.
Yeah.
You studied in Rome, and you said that was a very happy time of your life. Now, let's talk about you for just a moment. You're here raising money for Ghana, for your diocese, and I assume you're doing that because you need help.
Yes.
What are the biggest problems for you and your work as a Catholic priest, or any missionary for that matter, in Ghana?
Yeah, personally, I work in a diocese which is very big. It's the second largest diocese in Ghana, apart from the capital city, in terms of population, in terms of challenges. We have a lot of challenges. And like every diocese in the world, every diocese has an option. We make an option for the poor. We make a choice to take care of the poor and make sure that we can bring quality education, bring quality health care to our people. And my diocese, through the bishop and his priest, the clergy, and the religious and the people have been really taking on that challenge to make sure we bring the gospel message to the people. At the same time, also raise up the standard of living and give meaning to their lives. And our biggest challenge now is that we are trying to. We have a new seminary, a major seminary for the province, and we have many vocations to the priesthood, because every vocation is for the universal church, not only for the church in Ghana, for the local church, for the church in Ghana, and also for the universal church. So as much as we have many seminaries, we also have to take care of their needs, and therefore we need facilities for this seminary, and that is one of the challenges that we face now. We have many vocations, but we don't have adequate facilities for them, and that's why we are trying to raise our funds for that. Apart from that, we also want to build a teacher training college for boys, which we are going to start this year. It's called Christ the Teacher Training College in Kumasi, and because we need teachers in the rural areas to help people, young boys and girls who they need teachers to teach them. And so the church would like to undertake that project to train teachers, good teachers, so that they can, who are prepared to go out and help their own people, who will be instilled with the gospel message, and so at the same time giving the enthusiasm and the zeal to work for their people. So that is another challenge that we have to face. Then the third one is trying to also empower the girl child. And in African society, empower the girl child, the girl.
The females.
The females, the women. Empowering the girl child, so that the girl child can take up her role, her status in society, and become useful to herself, to her family, and to the nation. Somebody says that one of our greatest statesmen, Agri, said that if you educate a man, you educate an individual, but if you educate a woman, you educate a nation. And so we are going by that philosophy, and we would like to put emphasis on the education of women so that they can really be helpful to themselves, to their family, and to society.
Father George, let me ask you about poverty in Ghana.
Apart from the fact that we are poor and we have difficulties and challenges with Boko Haram, challenges with many rebel groups, challenges with war, tension in countries, the church in Africa is growing very rapidly. There are Catholics in Africa are becoming increasingly much more than many years ago. So, and if you look at the church's statistics in the past year, you realize that the growth rate in Africa is very prominent. And for that matter, Africans are becoming, are beginning to understand the meaning of Christianity and are embracing the faith and are ready to live out the faith. And then, furthermore, to the reference you made about who will save Africa or who will save the world, in respect of Boko Haram and other things, and I think that personally, dialogue is the only solution now. Dialogue is the solution to the problem, because taking up arms to fight or engaging in war, that will never solve it. In the case in Nigeria, if a Christian strike today, the Muslims will strike the next day. It's been going on for a long time. So eventually, we have to sit around the table, talk our differences out, iron out our differences.
You don't have that problem in Ghana, do you? There aren't attacks on Christians.
Fortunately, Ghana is a different country from Nigeria.
Yeah.
Ghana.
Tell me about that. Why is it different?
Because Ghana has been a peaceful country right from the onset. I think we have Ghanaians have an attitude of peace towards their neighbors. We have an attitude of coexistence, of fraternity, of understanding, of hospitality, of welcoming the other person. And I think that has been our one of the positive traits, if I will, of Ghana. And I think because our religious leaders and our leaders have hammered on that, they have taken the time to work on that and make sure our people understand the fact that we need to be at peace in spite of the differences we have. Of course, there are many different political parties. When you have to vote, you have different governments, different systems. But people still adhere to the fact that we want to enjoy our peace, and we want to keep our peace, and we want to guard against anything that might affect our peaceful nature.
All right, I heard from a Ghanan that your government won't allow the imams who are preaching war and bloodshed. Is that true?
Yeah, that is true. That's
okay.
true.
Too bad they didn't do that in Nigeria.
It's because even the Muslims themselves will not allow that. Even the Muslims themselves in Ghana will not allow such people.
They wouldn't let them in either.
Yes, because nobody in Ghana, you have your freedom to worship your God, your religious freedom. Nobody tempers with your religious freedom.
What percentage is Muslim? What is Christian? What is pagan?
Yeah. In simple terms, about 65% are are Christians in Ghana. Yeah, 65%. Then you have about 20% Muslim. Then we have about the other 15% or 10%
ancestor worship.
Yeah,
whatever.
animists, as we say, with traditional religious worshippers. Yeah.
Well, I had a book that Father Peter, pastor at St. Anne's, gave me about how the faith came to Ghana. It's a remarkable book. Absolutely, it's only been 150 years that the first Irish missionaries came in, and look at it now. It's incredible. Well, Father, it's been wonderful talking with you. I wish you the very best, and you'll be back in Ghana by the time this program is on the air. Our guest has been Father George
Gyasi.
Thank you, Father. It's been fun and interesting talking with you.
Thank you very much for allowing me to be on your program. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.